Then moving now to Gustavo's presentation on the effects of a payment for ecosystem services program in community forests in northern Mexico. Gustavo, floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much for your invitation. I hope my internet goes well. Sometimes it fails, so if there is some problems with communication, just let me know. I also hope to achieve the time that you're giving to each presenter. So my presentation is about the effects of a program, the payment for ecosystem service that we had in northern Mexico. So the idea here is to program in community forests, and this program has been working for the last 15 or 20 years. So I'm going to give you a little background about the community forests in Mexico. Perhaps you know that in Mexico we had a unique system of property regime where most of the lands belong to these communities. We call these ejidos, and these ejidos are the product of the Mexican Revolution in the 1920s. And basically the government would gave or transfer the rights to peasants for using and managing the land. And basically the idea here to work as a community is that all benefits and costs and responsibilities are distributed equally among community members. So about 52% of the Mexican territory is common property, and of this 32% belong to this, or the forest lands belong to these ejidos. The distribution of these ejidos are, it's very common across all the country. So we had more than 30,000 communities and about 9,200 communities on about 20 million hectares of temperate forest lands. So these temperate forest lands provides more than 20 types of ecosystem services, and it's very, very unique, and it's very important for policy making to consider the type of property that we have here in Mexico. These ejidos has been faced with so many problems. So, and in this slide, I'm trying to show how these ejidos has faced all these problems. And at the beginning, they focus on more economic issues, so they give more importance to give the best, or to get the best of the forest, without considering what ecological impacts have in forest management. So with time, they focus more on other social issues like promoting the cooperation, or try to see if they can be more organized. And more recently, they focus more on ecological issues now. They try to preserve or to conserve some areas and protecting more the forest. There is a long way still to get a sustainable condition, but I think so far, they are trying to do the best with the relations with another, and the relation with the government, and what are they doing to protect and to conserve the forest. The payment for ecosystem services in Mexico has two main objectives, which the first one is to reduce the deforestation and also reduce poverty levels. I think one of the presenters a few minutes ago were talking about some characteristics of the payment for ecosystem services. But there is also another key objective that is not officially recognized that it's the co-production of ecosystem services. So the government gives money to these community members, and the community members has to do some activities to help forests and produce another ecosystem services. There is a relationship between forests and community members, and here it's a kind of win-win relationship between them. So the goals here is to maintain forest cover at least an 80%, promote reforestation, reduce soil erosion, and increase social capacity building. So that's the main goals of the payment for ecosystem services here in Mexico. So we make these research questions. We said if the program, the PS program, has been useful to help deforestation in forest area in northern Mexico, and also what other social impacts has the PS program brought to communities. So we conducted this study in northern Mexico. There is a watershed in central Durango. Durango is in northern Mexico, about 12 hours from the US-Mexican border. So there is a mix of pine, oak vegetation combined with agricultural and grazing uses. And the area covers about 2% of the state's total area. And here are some pictures about this area. So we had a mix of pine, oak, and dry vegetation and agricultural land uses. So right now, we are going through a very dry year. So the idea here is to catch water as much as possible in some areas. The types of forest covers are basically two. The primary forests are located in the high altitude or in the mountains. And also there are the secondary forests, which are the pinyon pine, juniper, and oak, which are located in the lowlands. So here, I'm sorry. So to evaluate the forest cover changes, basically we try to do some cartographic analysis using official maps and Landsat images. So we evaluated the pre-conditions before the PES program and after the PES program was applied. And also we also include a control group where the ejidos or these communities did not receive any payment. So the idea here is to compare those who receive the payment versus those who do not receive the payment in a certain period of time. The soil adjusted vegetation index is a tool that we use to evaluate the changes. This soil adjusted is kind of it's an index that measures how much solar radiation is reflected in the vegetation. So this index was used to classify several vegetation classes divided by or according to the density of the vegetation. So we also did some field trips to corroborate the information that we got from this index. We also apply a difference in difference method to see that, or to evaluate the difference in the before and after conditions, before the payment and after the payment, and to compare those who receive the payment versus those ejidos who do not receive the payment. So the difference in difference methods accounts for all difference, not only in time, but also in the treatment effect. So we use the Stata software to do the analysis. And also we conducted some questionnaires to gather information about the ejidos, about the type of organization, what kind of rules, what kind of agreements they had, the perceived benefits of the program to forests and communities, and to get some social demographic data and trying to relate this information with the changes on vegetation. The main results that we had here is 22% of the forest or the area is covered by forest. About 20% is covered by secondary forest, and the rest is other types of vegetation like dry vegetation, cactus, and other species. And in the forest density classes, using the vegetation index, indicates that about 39% are low density forests, 49% it's medium density, and 12% are composed of high density forests, which are located in the upper and north-facing hillsides. So all these data were used to compare the PS ejidos, or those who received the payment, versus those ejidos who did not receive the payment, and before and after conditions, and the density classes, and the interactions among all of them. And this graph shows the difference between, in this case, the PS effect on the amount of area, forest area. So we can see here that the non-PES ejidos have less area than those who receive the payment, and same thing for the secondary forest. So there is a big difference between non-PES ejidos versus PES ejidos. That means that the PES ejidos have more secondary forests than those who do not receive the payment. There are no significant difference on the time effects, which means that only for those who receive the payment, that means that there are no changes before and after the condition, before and after applying the program. So that means that the ejidos are doing the same thing with the payment, and there is basically no difference on the before and after conditions of those who receive the payment. There are some difference on the density classes. The class 3, which is the most density, or those areas with more dense areas, there are some significant changes here. So that means that basically that the vegetation index is saying the many ejidos have difference on the type of vegetation. About the interactions among PEs, time, and density, all these variables that we are including. For the forest, basically we don't have any significant difference, so we cannot say that the PES program has impacted in the forest area. And for the secondary forest, we can see here that the PES program is significant. So that means that there are significant difference between those ejidos who receive the payment versus those ejidos who do not receive the payment. And as we saw before, those ejidos who receive the payment have much or more area than those who do not receive the payment. There are also some significant difference in the density classes, and also in the interaction between the PES program in the density classes. So that means that the program has some effects on the secondary forest, but no in the forest vegetation, in the primary forest. The difference in difference method says that, or confirms that no significant difference for changing for scholars. So the values, the significance values are not significant. There are some significant values for the before and after conditions. PES ejidos had greater secondary forest cover, but there is no significance in the overall difference. So just to relate this information with social perceptions, I just like to catch your attention here in the perceptions of federal subsidies. Here it includes not only the PES program, but also other types of subsidies. So a question that we make to the communities where like these subsidies bring to communities, for example, better organization, habitats for fauna, more cooperation, more income. And we can see here that those who receive the payment perceive more cooperation than those who do not receive the payment. And same thing for the program has brought
Gustavo, we've lost you, I think.
We saw that there are no significant changes, but here the social perceptions are different between those ejidos who receive the payment and in those others who do not receive the payment.
Gustavo, we lost you for a few seconds there, but if I may just jump in, we have another minute. So if you want to take some questions, I was wondering if you, well, it's up to you, but there's another minute.
All right, I just like to jump to the conclusion. So the treatment difference in PES ejidos versus not PES ejidos in secondary forests may be due to selection of program recipients. So in this case, the government selects ejidos with greater improved responsibility and full compliance with requirements. So the time effect before and after condition forest cover increase is not clear enough. You know, apparently all ejidos conserve the forest because of their own initiatives and not as a response of the subsidy. What are the causes here? Maybe because the payment is not enough, because it only helps with minimum activities. And sometimes they use the payments for other purposes, like to pay labor or the ejidos needs. So I think that's all. And if there are some questions or comments, thank you.
Thank you, Gustavo. Okay, I think we have, that was very interesting. Thank you. We have time for, yeah, let's take a minute. We're in the break time now, so let's try to keep it short. I see a question from, are you able to stop sharing your screen? Then we can probably see each other more. I have a question from Kenneth already. Kenneth, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation and indeed evidence that payment seem to promote conservation of forest. But can you please explain what actually did you monitor with secondary forest? Did you monitor whether the forest area of secondary forest, whether it increased or something on the quality? I missed exactly what you measured on the secondary forest.
Yeah, the secondary forests are different from primary forests. So primary forest is basically pine, and in the secondary forest is more pinyon, juniper. So this area, the forest area for this type of vegetation increase. Perfect. In those ejidos who receive the payment. So
yes, I see now. And clear. Excuse me. Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So if I understand it well, the total forest area remained constant over time, and the secondary forest area increased.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, I don't see the reason why secondary forest increases. It might be due because those ejidos tend to make some reforestation issues, and the reforestation are basically in the secondary forest, not on the areas where primary forests are.
Clear. Yeah, sounds like a good reason. Yeah, thank
you. Gustavo, I think we're going to take the last question here. Jocelyn, did you want to maybe unmute yourself? I think there's an interesting question there in the chat.
Hi, yes, thanks, Gustavo, for the interesting presentation. I was just wondering, because you presented this pre and post pest scheme forest for those in the scheme, that there was no difference in their forest cover. I'm wondering whether the same is true for ejidos that were not in the pest scheme, measured at the same time periods. So kind of like whether the overall trend, I guess, was that there was not much forest cover change, whether or not they were taking part in the past schemes?
Yeah, the difference says that there are no significant changes. So that means that before the conditions were basically the same and after the condition. So there are no significant changes. But that's for primary forest. But for secondary forest, there is some significant changes. There are some ejidos who receive the payment seems to protect more the forest as opposed to those who do not receive the payment. And this only for secondary forest, not for primary forest. That's something that is calling our attention. Why only secondary forest and not the primary forest? So we are trying to see or to explain more this issue. I don't know if I addressed your question correctly.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering if you had the data for ejidos that were not in the pest schemes, whether there was change in forest cover in the same period.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So
yeah.
There wasn't any difference as well.
No, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
There's
right,
no any difference.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting puzzle. We could continue talking, but I think we also need to be aware of our breaks. So I would like to see you all back in 11 minutes for our last keynote. Ashish Kotari. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Gustavo, and thank you, Donny. Great sets of totally different presentations. Really interesting and fun to have this these two different takes. Thanks. See you in about 10 minutes.